My name is Anastasia. I have a very long last name. It's Papazafiropoulou, and I'm one of the people in the admissions team here. I'm a lecturer. I'm a senior lecturer here at Brunel University, and I'm teaching in the computer science department. And my specialization is in the postgraduate degrees, but I'm also helping with undergraduate teaching. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. And then, of course, you have the opportunity to ask any questions you like just after this presentation. So in the first slide, you see a picture of the campus. So this is how Brunel looks like from the top. So we have done lots of redevelopment in the campus. So we have lots of very interesting facilities. Apart from the lecture center, there's lots of buildings that they're related to accommodation. So you can stay here if you like. And then there's also facilities for eating and meeting other people, and of course sports facilities that are very important for you. So this is how Brunel looks like from the top, but of course you can go into the website, and there are lots of pictures and lots of information about the campus and how it is to study, and lots of people actually live here as well. So let's look at the courses we have in the computer science department. So we have what we offer, what we call a single honors bachelor's degree. So the courses we have, they're emphasizing on software development. So we're looking for people that are interested in software and the development of software testing, a lot of different other procedures related to software. And we have 2 modes of study. So you can do a 3-year course or a 4-year thick sandwich course. What does that really mean is you're doing your first and your second year, and then you can do 1 year off. You go on a placement, as we call it, so you work in a company, and then you can come back to the university and do your final, which is your 4th year of studies. So there are 2 main pathways. So we have 2 main degrees basically that we offer. The first one is computer science, and the second one is business computing, and I'll explain the details of that. So we have, as I said, 2 main degrees, which is the business computing and the computer science. So for example, if somebody decides to do a computer science degree, what we have is what we call the specialization, so the pathways. So at the end of the 3 years or the 4 years, depending if you do a placement or not, you can specialize in different areas. So it could be computer science as it is, the main area of computer science, as you see at the top, or you can do computer science with artificial intelligence, computer science with digital media and games, computer science with network computing, and computer science with software engineering. You don't have to make this decision now. So this is what you decide after your 2nd or 3rd year, after your 2nd year rather, where you already know which areas you're interested in, and you can go and decide to do one of those. In case you decide to do a business computing degree, we have different specializations which are mostly related to business computing. So business computing, I have to say, it's not so much about the development and the software engineering, but it's mostly about the business side of computing. So we're finding out how computers can be used in organizations, how to change people's lives or companies' life, and then you can have the specialization via the business computing with e-business, which has to do with everything to do with transactions we do online on the internet. Business computing with human-computer interaction, where we're looking at all the interfaces with how people interact with computers. And of course, something that we all know, and I'm sure you're all using, is business computing with social media, looking at how social media are used today to affect people's and organizations' lives. So these are the 2 pathways. So if we want to look at the details of how these pathways are laid out in the actual 3 levels of study. So you see in the 1st year, we have what you see here is a common year, as we call it. So within this year, we have computer science and business computing as a common core. What does it really mean is in this 1st year, both computer science and business computing students have a number of modules that they're the same. The idea here is we want people to have access to the same information, and then they can work together. For example, we have a level 1 project where they can work together in bringing in either more technical side or the business side, depending on what they're interested in. But the modules are exactly the same. But then people can decide to go to computer science or business computing. So from the beginning, you have to say if you want to do computer science or business computing, but in reality is after the first year, you can decide to move around. So that's not a problem if you want in the second year to go from business computing to computer science or from computer science to business computing. So this is what's happening in the second year, where we're actually having different modules. So computer science people have these different modules from business computing people, and then you're probably going to do a placement in your third year, and then if you come back in your fourth year, then you can do the specializations as I described them before. So what is the approach we take to this? So as I said, we have two main degrees, computer for people that are mostly interested in programming, and then we have a degree that people that are more interested in the social or the business side of computing. But what is the actual attitude we have? What's the approach we take to that? So the approach we take is we use lots of different ways to teach computing. So we try to be hands-on, as we say, and we're trying to implement what we call is computing in action. So what does that really mean is we use lots of what we call the digital labs. So we have places where we teach, but also there's computers in the room and you can interact with the people that they teach you. Also there's lots of exercises you can run on the computers, and of course all the programming you need to do, you can do it in the labs. We have what we call the finch, which is, you can see it in this picture here. You cannot see it very well, but if you come, you can definitely spend lots of time with the finch. The finch is a little robot. It's actually a penguin, I think. It's like a little animal, and it's a robot, and we use that to help you understand programming. So basically we do programming by teaching you how to use the robot, make the robot move around, or do lots of different things with this robot. So we actually have a race with the robots once a year as well, what we call the Robot Olympics. But you will find out when you start your course. So we teach you how programming works by using these little robots. Also, we have even more advanced kind of instruments, if you like, or artifacts that we use in order to show you how programming works in real life. So we even use drones. So the drones that they're flying on they're flying on their own. So what we teach you is we can teach you how to program in a way that you can control the drone. And you see one of the students here doing this. So this is some of the ways we use to help you do what we call computing in action. That means using specific instruments that help you understand how programming works. As I said before, we have a course that we call it the Fig Sandwich course. So this is what we highly recommend, and we actually have a work placement office that they help you find your placement here in the university, and they have been awarded lots of different awards as being a very good office and useful for the students. And this is just some of the companies where we place people. So if you come here, you can work for either IBM or BMW, Coca-Cola, Apple, all of these places where people our students go in their third year of the study, spend 1 year working in companies, real projects, real situations they are involved in, and then they can come back and finish their degree. So then here in this picture you can see two of our students that they spend their placement in Formula 1 team in Williams, which is in Oxfordshire. So it seems that they are enjoying their placement. So this is just an example of people going out to placement and getting in touch with real applications. So I'm not going to ask you to ask questions now, because I'm going to give the space to one of our current students, the student that he's about to graduate now, and then he's going to tell you about his experience at studying at Brunel, and then we're going to come back and we're both going to answer your questions.
Okay, so my name is Bhavit. Like been mentioned, I'm a current level 3, graduating in July this year. So my name's Bhavit, like I said. I'm doing the computer science degree, specialising in software engineering. I did the thick, so I've got professional practice. As Natasha's mentioned, there's the series of degrees and the years. So I'm just going to go through how I found each year placement as well, because I did that. So the first year we start off, there's a lot of programming, Java, SQL, Prolog, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So, a bit of basic web development in there, introduction to Java. So you get your feet running, you start knowing how to do basic things. And then that's where you also start getting to play with the Finch robots, and you get to get them to do some really nice wacky things. Some of them could be obstacles, or getting your robot to speak Morse code, getting it to detect whether there's obstacles in its way and navigate its way around a maze. So there's a lot of funky stuff that goes on there. And then aside from that, in the first year, you'll learn a lot of basic fundamentals in computer science and in business computing that will prove very, very useful across your following 2 or 3 years on the course, but also when you go out into industry as a professional. The second year, again, we come into even more programming. We focus a lot on Java, Android, XML, because we do app development as part of your level 2 group project, where you have to develop an app with usually a team of 5. You have an idea and you're generating an Android app from start to finish. So product conception right the way through to testing and actually pushing it out onto the App Store if you want. We're quite lucky here. We have an event called Made in Brunel every year, where you can actually showcase your finished or your working prototypes, and there are industry experts that come in, rate your applications, give you guidance, and you never know, you might even get a job out of it as well. Then there's a couple of other really key modules for me as a computer scientist. So there's your networking. You get a lot of insight into a lot of the basic fundamentals of how packets and stuff transfer from one machine to another, which may seem really simple, but it's really, really important to understand certain fundamentals in there. Algorithms and their applications. Now, if any of you are beanies like me and you love programming, then it's like the module for second year. It's the best module there is, in my opinion, because all you literally do is just code, and write more code. But it's not as daunting as it sounds. There's a lot of support. So for that particular module, you'd have a lecture that would explain the type of algorithm you're aiming to implement. Then you'd get given some worksheets that you'd work through that would guide you on how to develop and implement this algorithm. Then you'd get assessed by a GTA, so a graduate teaching assistant, who are basically PhD students that have spent some time in the industry possibly, but have at least got their bachelor's and know what they're talking about. And they're there not just to assess you, but also to give you a lot of guidance and stuff. So if you are stuck, there are, postgrad students you can ask and your lecturers that you can ask for support in not just one module, but across all the modules. Then we have usability engineering, where you learn a lot of basic stuff again, but really important stuff on how you should develop an application, like the interface side. Certain things you may think are really, really trivial, but they can be missed out quite a bit. So you pick up on that kind of stuff. So then third year for me was placement. So I worked at Knight Frank LLP as a software tester. Just in case you don't know, Knight Frank is basically a property estate agent for the multi-millionaires and billionaires of our world. And I was working on some very bespoke internal software, which I really can't talk anything much about. But as a software tester, you'd think that's going to be quite boring. All you're doing is testing what a developer's written against what you've got, and that's pretty much it. But it wasn't, because I got a lot of exposure to a lot of different types of testing. And because I was working in an agile team, I was fortunate enough to do some project management, business analysis, design, development, and testing. So I got a lot of exposure to all elements of the life cycle, which was great fun. Then we come on to the final year, so level 3. Surprise, surprise, there's even more programming. So we've got Java, MATLAB, and C#. Now these languages will vary depending on which modules you take. All dependent, like, so your MATLAB's going to be more your artificial intelligence, your C#'s more for games, Java's more your networking. And then you have your dissertation, which is the big one, the one that everyone seems to worry about when they come to uni, but it's really probably one of the easiest modules there is, as long as you can be well disciplined and time manage yourself. You get a chance to address a real world problem, conduct some research into that problem, design a solution, implement it, test it, and then evaluate it. You can as well, if you have your own idea, you can speak to a tutor, see if your idea has sufficient complexity and is appropriate, and then potentially go forward with that, which is what I did. So I developed a web-based application which helps people to learn how to code. So a bit like Code Academy, which some of you may have used or even heard of. The only difference with that is I was using some software engineering in there to analyze how well the code had been written based on user style. Just looking at small syntactical things like where is the brace, have you used the correct amount of code lines? And then on top of that, I put a fully automated test suite on top of that, so that in the future, if someone else wanted to pick up the project, they could continue developing knowing that they can just run this automated testing suite that will then pick up on any regressed bugs that may be introduced into the system. And then one of the other best modules in third year is advanced topics, or as we've put it, latest tech and trends. So this year we've learned about Bitcoin, cybersecurity, big data, and production ready. And this module is perfect because you really do get a chance up until pretty much probably a month before the module even starts to give your input into the lecturers and say, look, can we learn about this latest new hot new thing in industry? So you are learning pretty much what is being rolled out in industry at the time. And if you take something like production ready, which is basically using tools to employ continuous development and continuous integration in industry, that stuff isn't even fully out in industry yet. So you're getting a massive head start by knowing about these tools and being able to progress on with that. So yeah, computer science is definitely not just about being a programmer, and you will get a lot of exposure to all different aspects of a development team across the year, across your different group projects where you'll fulfill different roles within a team. So yeah. And then, as was mentioned earlier, we've got a team that will help you out during placement to find jobs. So the Professional Development Center, as they're now called, where we've got expert careers advisors. And I'm not saying it because it's on there. They really and truly are some of the best careers advisors I've ever met. I speak to some of my friends that are at other universities, and that's one of the things they really tell me that they struggle with, because their careers department isn't as strong as what ours is. They don't just advise you on placement jobs. So if you want a job part-time whilst you're studying, you want something as an internship over your summer breaks, your placement obviously, and then a postgraduate job, they're there to help you with anything to do with a career, simply. You may have a job already lined up potentially, but you need to target a small little bit, your interview technique, because you've got a final stage or something. They can really hone into those small little things and really help you perfect all of your different techniques, whether it's writing a CV to performing appropriately in an assessment center to articulating yourself in interviews. And the best thing is you've got access to the service 2 years after you graduate as well, so there is no stress during final year that I've got dissertation to worry about, I've got 4 other modules that I've got to do really, really well so I can get my first class honours degree, and I've got a job, panic, and then you have a stress attack. So you can really balance the load. So you can just worry about sorting your degree out, and then once you've graduated, start looking for a job. Then there is no rush because you know you've got full access to this brilliant service there for you. And here are just some of the places my friends have been working at over industry on placement, and where quite a lot of them are all being placed on for their postgraduate jobs. This really is just showing a couple, and some of them seem really big, some of them not so big.
So I have a question here. So how many people are in the course on average? I would say in both degrees, yeah. In both degrees, there will be around 200. But then, of course, you have maybe 100 and something in computer science and a bit like 80 something in the business computing degree. So in the first year, you have around 200 people in the class, but in the second and third year, they're much less. Is programming hard to understand? What would you say?
No. So the programming across all the different years is very, very simple to understand. It's nice and easy because, like I said, that you've got a lot of support from your lecturers, you've got a lot of support from the GTAs, and you've got your peers around you as well, and they'll all continue to support you. So no, programming is easy to understand even if you have no previous experience.
Okay, so I can answer that. How many people in a seminar? So we have seminars, but we also have what we call labs, yeah? So mostly you have labs. So in a lab, we split people up into, from the 200 group that you have in a lecture, in the lab or the seminar, you might have 20, let's say. And then you work sometimes in groups of 4 or 5. So in a seminar room or in a lab, you get your 20 people, and then you can work within your group, 4 or 5 people. But also you get some teaching assistants that they help you with whatever you do at the moment. If you're developing something or testing something, whatever you do, there's someone there to help you. So this is the amount of people you get in a seminar, or I would say lab. Can you open it? Is there no way we'll open it? How many?
How many girls for the course?
We encourage girls to do this because we have mostly men taking computer science. But I would say, how many girls did you have in your class? Do you remember?
Probably about 10 to 20, and it is on the rise. It's definitely on the rise.
It's
You
on the
notice
rise.
it in the younger year groups. There are a lot more girls coming through on both the computer science and the business courses.
Yeah. So yeah, the majority are men, but we get lots of women, around 20 or maybe more women in each class. So you won't be on your own if you're a girl. Can I change between computer science software later in the year? Definitely, yeah. Yeah, you can decide that. So at the beginning you have to say what you want to do, but then later on, as you move on and you're looking at the different modules, you can decide and change. That's not a problem at all. Yeah, you can even change degree at the end of your first year, as I said. You can go from business computing to computer science and computer science to business computing. If I get ABC or BBC in the summer, will I still be accepted? ABC or BBC?
So whilst we're waiting just on confirmation for the other one, we've just got another question come in. So what is the social life like? On campus, social life is absolutely brilliant. It's always buzzing. The best thing is we've got what we call the quad, which is a nice outdoor area that's in the heart of campus essentially, which leads on to the main walkway, as it were, where we've got the shops, the bars. We've got 3 clubs on campus, loads of places to eat, loads of places to drink. We've got a river that actually runs through campus, which is quite nice. Always funny to find out during freshers how many people have decided to go for a swim, because it does happen far too often. Yeah, it depends. It depends on how you want to make your social life. If you choose to interact, go out with all the different societies, the groups, and really engage with everyone, then you're more likely to have a better social life than someone that's going to sit tight. But there is that exposure and the chance to really interact with loads of different people. If you're staying in halls, you will be with other people that are on different courses, potentially international students as well, so you're really going to get a mixed breed of who you're going to interact with on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so we'll go back to the previous question, which is if I get ABC or BBC in the summer, would I still be accepted? Well, the requirements at the moment are BBB, but even if you get something 1C, for example, you can still apply, and then we can look at your application, and depending on the modules, I mean, the subjects you are taking and all that. So my advice is try to get at least BBB, and then if not, we'll see how it goes. Do you have we have another question. Do you have additional, I guess, support for people with disabilities? Yes, definitely, like autism. Yeah, we have a special office called Disability and Dyslexia Service. So they support you all the way through. So the first thing somebody has to do if they have any kind of disability, go and meet them, and they're there to help you, and they offer very good support. I have students that they have dyslexia or any kind of mobility disability, and they're 100% supported by them. So it's called the Disability and Dyslexia Service, and you can find them on the website and see all the information about them. I'm looking to the next question. Does your first year count towards your final grade? No. So your first year, it's just for us, it's just for you to get introduced to how, your degree is going to look like, and you get introduced to the first subjects that are common, as I said, for both computer science and business computing. But it doesn't count to your final degree, so you can relax a bit, and you don't have to stress in the first year. Second and third year do count, though.
There is just one thing to add. On your first year, that's going to be your first set of confirmed results. So if you do intend on doing a placement, it is key that you still do perform in your first year, because employers will look at your first year grades when they're giving out an offer for a placement year.
Yep.
Yeah, so the question is, will we get help with our dissertation? And the answer is definitely yes. So you work with a personal tutor as your first port of call, who you'll usually meet at least once a week to give you guidance on how to progress through the different stages of your dissertation. Then there is a dedicated lab we have, usually on a Friday, which we call the FYP lab, where there are various different professors and doctors roaming around the place to give you directed support on specific things, whether that's on how to design a questionnaire, how to do a specific piece of development, or whatever. Then there's also the graduate teaching assistants, who always are around and willing to help. As long as you've got your problems and you know what you need help on, they're always there to support you. And don't forget, the other thing is, when you're at uni, you're not just relying on your lecturers, just on any paid support, as it were. You've got your friend network around you, which will grow as you grow throughout the years, and your friends will become invaluable in supporting you through different modules and tough times that you go through, and they may be able to help you with things a lot quicker than your tutor will, or anything like that. So the question is, when doing group work, do we get to choose our group, or are they already decided? So in first year and second year, for me personally, they were pre-decided. Unless there was an exceptional circumstance, then you were set to work with the group you had, and that was really, really good, because it forces you to work with, you may not necessarily like someone, but it forces you to work with that person. Because when you go out into industry, you go to work, you're not necessarily going to work with someone you like. You're just going to have to be professional and get on with it. So it really does help you to learn how to develop your professional skill set, how to communicate, how to time manage, all that stuff in challenging situations, how to deal with troubling situations as well. Because you could be working in a group of 5, you could have a deadline. So in the first year, your first thing is potentially going to be develop a basic website that tells us some basic information about people. And if one of your colleagues that is meant to do the bulk of the website and the development of the HTML, for example, falls ill, or unfortunately something happens to them personally that means they can't do the work, it will,
force you to change how you're going to do that work, so you still get it in and you meet your deadlines. So the next question is, what is a typical week schedule like, i.e. how many days in a typical week would you need to attend the campus? So it varies year to year, and your module split to your module split. It's always best to assume you're going to be in every single day, just because you could have one seminar one day, a lab another day, and a lecture. For each module, the amount of taught support you have does vary. In the earlier years, you've got probably more lectures. In the later years, you have more lab seminar-based support, but you're looking at probably around 2 to 3 hours each week, and that will, again, vary module to module. And the other thing with that is, I'm assuming the person that's asked this is considering staying at home. I lived at home for the entire of my degree. It's a full-time course, so I always time manage myself that 8 a.m. through till 4 or 5 p.m. I had to study and do university-related work, whether that was at home or at uni. So I would usually come in, sit in the library, do a load of work, go to some lectures, come back to the library, do a load of work. And then, you know, sort of outside of a normal working day pattern of 8 to 4, 8 to 5, you're free to do what you want.
So the next question is, if there are 10 girls in the course, are they all split up? Split up in different groups? Is that what you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. But yeah, you shouldn't worry about that at all, to be honest. Doesn't matter, you know, it's just, you always find friends, either girls or boys, if you want to call them. But yeah, if they split up in groups. So yeah, I mean, typically you get, no, but not necessarily. I mean, I had groups in level 1 groups where I had 2 or 3 girls in one group. It doesn't matter. So if there is a specific requirement that you want to work with someone else, we can consider that. But normally it's not a problem. So we always get a mix of people. So don't worry about that. And we have more girls than you think.
So just whilst you guys are thinking potentially about any other questions, one thing that I have missed out is that our course is accredited by the BCS, which is a massive bonus. So when you go out into industry, you have a BCS accredited degree, so you can become a member of the British Computer Society once you graduate. You can become a chartered IT professional once you graduate as well. And you can also miss out part of the process to becoming a chartered engineer or a chartered scientist as well, which makes life a lot easier. So the next question is there a final project for year 1? Yeah, there is. So that is with the group project from memory. So you start off in a group. You'll do some tasks as a group, and then you'll have one task that will be split out individually where you will have to do something, and that's usually with the drone. So where I was talking earlier, where you have to get the drone to write Morse code or to dodge an obstacle course or something like that. So there'll be a series of 5 or 6 challenges. Each member of the group takes one of those challenges and has to implement their solution and demonstrate it working.
Yeah. So yeah, so we have group project in year 1, and we also have group project in year 2. So we do mobile application development in year 2, and then in year 3 you have your final project, which is your individual project, which is your dissertation. So we have projects throughout the years, the 3 years. I'm looking at the next question. What kind of jobs can you get with business computing? For example, social media. So the jobs you get if you choose to do business computing, so you can work as an analyst, for example. Analyst are the people that work between the programmers, the developers, and the business people, the people that work in the business, whatever business you are in. And then you can translate, as we say, the requirements that come from the business people into the developers. When it comes specifically to social media, there's lots and lots of opportunities now, because most companies, businesses want to be active in social media, so you might get to work in the strategy they want to develop with social media, meaning they want to get as many customers as possible to interact with the company. So this way you may be involved in finding out what is the best way to use social media, or which platform is the best platform to use in social media, and things like that. So when it comes to business computing, anything that is related to programming but is not exactly programming is a job that you can take. Or you can be a project manager, for example, in projects that are IT projects. So you might be involved in managing projects that are related to development. So this can be a job for business computing people. Next question, is it easy to get a job with only this degree, or would you need to do masters? Right, I think we're lucky to live in this country where there are jobs. There are in lots of countries in this world, but there are not enough jobs. But the reality is that our professional, the office that helps you find jobs, they say they actually have more companies looking for people than applications for placements, for example. So the truth is, you can, if you are diligent and you get good marks and you know what you're doing, then you're definitely going to get the job. If you want to advance your studies and do more and to specialize in something, of course, you're welcome to do your masters. But the reality is, in, I don't know, 99% of the situations, people get good jobs if they're good in what they're doing.
The other thing to add on that is, if you're doing a placement, if you impress on placement, then 9 out of 10 times you will get offered a job once you've finished your level 3 to go back to that firm, and you're straight into a job. So placement is really, really important to making a lot of things a lot easier, because you've got your postgrad job potentially riding on it. And the other thing that a lot of people don't appreciate about doing a placement is how much easier level 3 becomes, because for me, I'm specializing in software engineering. I did the software engineering module here at Brunel. Because of the exposure I got in industry, when I came into doing the module, it was unreal how much of the stuff I was being taught I already knew. And that didn't just translate just in software engineering. It was in a few other modules where, just because I had that bit of industry experience talking to different professionals, I got that exposure. And also on this particular point, you can speak to a lot of other people and find out what their experiences are in industry, if they did do a bachelor's degree or if they were self-taught developers, for example, whether they did get a master's or not. And typically you'll find, especially in a development role, most people are either self-taught or have got a bachelor's. Those that have got a master's have either had a real desire to pursue their studies, or were international students that came to get a conversion degree as such, so they had a UK recognised degree. That's the only real reasons I've seen so far for people getting a master's. Like I myself, I'm going to do a master's, but that's because I really like software engineering and I potentially looking to do a doctorate instead of go down into industry. So as you grow throughout the years, you'll start to get a bit more exposure as to, do you want to go for a postgrad job, or do you want to do more studying and go into a research type field?
Do you have any other questions, or I will force you to ask questions, but anything that comes into your mind? Next question, my degree specializes in social media, but in the 3rd year, we're able to choose an additional module for example, e-business. How does that work?
So the way the course structure for the 3rd year is, you have 5 modules that you take. 3 of those are compulsory, and then the last 2 are optional out of the various specialisms that are there. Now, you don't have to pick any specialism, but you must do 2 of those. To get the specialism on your degree, your dissertation has to specialize in that subject area, and you have to have done that module as part of one of your options.
So you can take your social media module for your specialization, but then you can take your e-business module if that's what you want to do. All right then, so thank you everybody. Thanks for all your questions. You can always email us. You have our email and everything. Any questions that they pop up into your head, just let us know. Good luck with your results in the summer. So looking forward to meet you hopefully in September. You get the right results and then come and meet us here at Brunel.